Hello and welcome. You're watching WION The World is One, and this is World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and on the show today, we have Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who's urging European leaders to continue bearing down on Russian President Vladimir Putin when he becomes the first premier to attend the European Council gathering since Brexit on Monday. This as the world looks for what will the future ceasefire and peace deal talks look like and what it holds for the Western ally of Ukraine.
Also on the show, we're going to be talking about President Donald Trump, who has said that Americans may feel economic pain from his tariffs on key trading partners, that is China, Canada, and Mexico, but argue that it would be worth the price to secure U.S. interests. And this as Mexico rejects Trump's cartel claims as they prepare to unveil their own tariff plans. What happens next in the tariff wars? We'll get to more on the show, but first the headlines.
Third Amrit Snan underway at Maha Kumbh Mela in India's Prayagraj. Millions of devotees take a dip in holy Sangam waters on Basant Panchami at the world's largest religious gathering.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will hold talks with the leaders of Canada and Mexico soon after signing off on 25% tariffs on both the countries. Trump also says he will put tariffs on goods from the European Union soon.
President Donald Trump says he is considering the future of U.S. aid claims to the Overseas Aid and Development Agency is run by radical left lunatics. Now, this comes after Elon Musk attacked the agency as a criminal organization.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets President Jose Molino in Panama, tells Panama to reduce Chinese influence in Canal area or face U.S. action.
India is reportedly re-evaluating its cryptocurrency policy following global shifts. Now, that's particularly the pro-crypto stance of U.S. President Donald Trump. This is based on an exclusive Reuters report citing Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Seth.
Marcus Rashford joins Aston Villa from Manchester United on loan for the rest of the season. The moves end a long saga following a fallout between the forward and manager Ruben Amorim. The U.S. President Donald Trump has announced sweeping new tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, a move that is sparking a traders' war.
Trump later said that he will hold talks with the leaders of Canada and Mexico. Trump also told reporters that he would be implementing tariffs on goods from the European Union pretty soon.
Now, Trump has imposed a 25% tariff on all imports from Mexico and most goods from Canada, with a 10% duty on Chinese imports. The U.S. administration said the measure aims to stop the flow of fentanyl and undocumented immigrants, but no clear benchmark for lifting the tariffs have been set.
Now, Trump admitted that Americans may feel economic pain from his tariffs on key trading partners, but argued that it would be worth the price to secure U.S. interests.
And tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success, cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. But the tariffs are going to make us very rich and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that that changes.
Now, Trump called again for Canada to become a U.S. state, heightening tensions further with one of his country's closest allies, after hitting it with heavy tariffs. Now, while claiming the United States pays hundreds of billions of dollars to subsidize Canada, Trump said that without this massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country.
Retaliation has come fast from all the three tariff-hit countries. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced far-reaching 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of U.S. goods, hitting alcohol, produce, clothing, furniture, and more. Trudeau has indicated that he has not spoken with Trump since the swearing-in last week.
If President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States, the better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us, unfortunately. The actions taken today by the White House split us apart instead of bringing us together.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said that U.S. is shooting itself in the foot. Sheinbaum has ordered her government to implement a countermeasure, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests. Now, Mexican imports could include everything from fresh produce to vehicles, clothing, avocados, bananas, and electronics, all expected to become much costlier for U.S. citizens.
I responded to the government of the United States. I told them clearly that we can collaborate, cooperate, because it is important to cooperate and collaborate between nations, but never with interference, with them wanting to tell us how to do things, but with collaboration for that reason. I say coordination yes, subordination no.
While China filed a World Trade Organization complaint and has vowed to take corresponding countermeasures, economists warn that the tariffs will drive up prices for American consumers on everything from cars to food to electronics. Business groups are sounding the alarm. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce calls it a tax increase on American families. The energy sector, agriculture industry, and retailers say that the measure will upend supply chains.
Now, with no exceptions and a clause to raise tariffs even higher if countries retaliate, the policy could escalate quickly. Trump acknowledges the move could cause temporary disruption, but calls it necessary for national security. Who's introducing? Okay.
And to discuss more, we're now being joined by Tariff. He is a journalist and author and is joining us live from Ottawa, Canada. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Now, let me begin by asking you, it's like the traders are saying it, the consumers are saying it, that this will hit U.S. domestically, not just like from food to cars to electronics. This is so much that's going to be impacted. What comes next, according to you?
Well, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. The mood is extremely angry in Canada. This is not, that sentence that I just spoke is not one you hear very often. We are by nature polite, or so it's said. And at the moment, we've got scenes where the American national anthem is being booed at sporting events. Half the provinces are taking American liquor off the shelves. Canadians drink a lot of American liquor. Not anymore. They're boycotting it. whether they're told to or not. People are extremely angry about what Trump is doing, and I think the Americans, the American consumer, I mean, as soon as they feel the pain, they're going to complain, and some people are going to answer, well, I'm sorry, sir, I have to charge you the extra, but you can blame Mr. Trump. And I think that the pressure is going to be a population that is angry and difficult and ornery about this in the United States. Mr. Trump won't have all the people behind him, but the Canadians and the Mexicans, they will. Canadians are rallying around this. It's a very popular thing now to hate the Americans.
Now, building on what you said, Mr. Milewski, I want to ask that now that Trump has imposed these tariffs, which were merely speculative just some while ago, they have now materialized into reality, and all the three countries hit, Canada, Mexico, China, they've been quick to come up with their response and have made it public that there will be retaliatory measures. But what do you think is the causal effect going to look like for the rest of the world? What are you anticipating by this move?
I think that Mr. Trump is dug in now. For the rest of the world, it's going to look like this could be you next. He has, as you know, talked about doing the same thing to the European Union, which is a very powerful trading bloc. And he might come to regret that too. But I don't think he's going to back off. I mean, he hasn't even been taking calls from from Justin Trudeau in recent days. They haven't spoken since the inauguration, apparently. And this is extraordinary when something of this importance is occurring. This is most unusual and most discourteous, and I think that it's just going to make everything worse. Remember that Canada is now in a sort of interregnum between governments, with Trudeau already announcing that he's going to resign. We don't really have much of a government. The Parliament is closed until the Liberal Party elects a new leader who will become Prime Minister. And so all of this should lead to a situation, in normal circumstances, where the Prime Minister's a lame duck and nobody cares what he says. On the contrary, right now, the mood here is going to be reflected similarly in Mexico, and if it extends to China and to the European Union, as Mr. Trump says it will, you'll see the same effect there, I believe.
Right. And that being said, what, according to you, is keeping Trump from actually making all these decisions? What is the confidence that he has?
Well, he lives in the 19th century, doesn't he? I mean, he doesn't seem to have any interest in the facts of international economics. Just to take one example, he says that the U.S. is being treated very unfairly by Canada because the U.S. subsidizes Canada by 200 or 250 billion, depending on which day it is. And this is absolute nonsense. He's talking about the fact that Americans willingly buy more stuff from Canada than Canadians do, a much smaller economy, obviously, from the United States. Well, if I buy something from you, it's not a subsidy. I'm not subsidizing you. I'm exchanging a thing of value, my money, for your products. I mean, it's absurd. So if you're asking me, why does Trump do what he does? I think Mad King Donald is just, that's the way he is. He doesn't understand what he's getting into.
Right, Mr. Milewski, and also like the way in which the three countries have responded. It has been made clear that there will be retaliatory measures, but at the same time, there's a growing sentiment in Canada, as you've just echoed, where people are, let's say, publicly following the suit of Mr. Trudeau and are willing to boycott American goods. But at the same time, Mr. Trump's, again, the push for making Canada the 51st state. What do you have to say about that? And how are the conversations going to evolve from this point onwards, given that the tariffs would come into implementation on Tuesday?
Well, as you reported correctly earlier in the show, Mr. Trump says he is going to hold talks with the leaders of Mexico and Canada. And obviously, you won't, no prize for betting that this matter will come up, this 51st state nonsense. The problem is that it is utter nonsense. The Canadians won't discuss it at all. I mean, what are you going to do? Invade? I mean, get real. It's completely preposterous. And I mean, that would be doing exactly what Putin has done in Ukraine. I mean, it's unheard of since the Second World War, such a thing. And even if he starts with a smaller bite out of Panama by going after the Panama Canal, and then graduates to Greenland, about which nobody outside Denmark really cares, then that would get very real very fast, because I understand that the French have already talked to the Danes about stationing troops in Greenland. So we know where the French stand on this. So I think that Trump is not going to back off until he has to. He only understands one thing, and that is embarrassment. If he looks silly or weak on the world stage, he looks like a fool on the world stage, which he soon will, I believe, then I think that's the only thing that will turn him around, that will end these tariffs. But that is going to take a long time. Remember, he's got a very thick skin.
All right. Well, of course, we'll be looking at how it all turns out on Tuesday, perhaps. But thank you so much, Mr. Mileski, for joining us and giving your perspective.
Thank you.
Now moving on, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a direct warning to Panama. Now in a meeting with Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino, Rubio said that his countries must limit Chinese influence over the Panama Canal area, or that the Trump administration would take measures necessary to do so.
However, Molino insisted he was not afraid of a U.S. invasion and offered to talk. Rubio, during his first visit overseas as a U.S. diplomat, told Panama that the U.S. President Donald Trump had determined that the country violated terms of its treaty, under which the then President Jimmy Carter handed back the crucial waterways in 1999. Now, Rubio pointed to the influence and control of China over the canal, the vital link between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, through which some 40% of U.S. container traffic passes.
Now, the top U.S. diplomats visited the Miraflores locks of the canal, where administrations offered him a guided tour as a Panamanian flagged oil tanker with Korean signage passed through.
Now, after talks with Rubio, Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino proposed technical talks with U.S. to address Trump's concerns about Chinese influence in the canal.
I would say that the most important topics discussed with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio were those related to the Canal Treaty, in light of what President Trump has mentioned regarding China's presence. In this regard, I raised my concerns, of course leaving the room for the canal's technical team, along with the team the United States designates, to discuss the matter and clearly clarify any doubts they may have.
Meanwhile, Rubio's presence caused an uproar among the Panamanians as hundreds protested outside the government palace.
Dozens of demonstrators, primarily students and university professors, blocked streets near the University of Panama, where they burned effigies of President Donald Trump and Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino's images.
The Secretary of State of this new U.S. government is visiting this country to impose. It shows a lack of respect for the autonomy and self-determination of the people. The canal belongs to Panama. No matter how much they want to recover an economic flow, this canal belongs to this country.
Now shifting focus to West Asia, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has arrived in Washington for his meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump scheduled for tomorrow.
Now, before boarding his flight to the U.S. Capitol, Netanyahu said he and Trump would discuss victory over Hamas, achieving the release of all the remaining hostages held in Gaza, and countering Iran and its proxies.
Now, according to the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Netanyahu would meet U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff before meeting Trump. Now, Netanyahu has spoken with Witkoff on Saturday and agreed that negotiations on the second phase of the Gaza truce would begin when they meet.
Now, a date for formal talks involving mediators and delegations from Hamas and Israel has not been set, with the 42-day first phase due to end next month. Netanyahu's office said Witkoff would talk to Qatar and Egypt, key mediators, before discussing with the Israeli premier, that is, the steps to advance the negotiations, including dates for delegations to leave for talks. As part of the first phase, in exchange for more than 180 Palestinian prisoners released from Israeli custody, Hamas on Saturday freed 3 Israeli hostages. Now, a total of 18 Israeli hostages have been released since the ceasefire agreement came into effect on 19th of January. Witkoff, while in Israel, met former hostages. The second phase is expected to cover the release of the remaining hostages and to include discussions on a more permanent end to the war, which is something several members of Israel's governing coalition do oppose. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has threatened to quit the government if the war does not restart, potentially stripping Netanyahu of his majority. Meanwhile, since withdrawing some of its troops from the border in Gaza, the Israeli military has turned to the occupied West Bank. In the latest, it has destroyed almost 24 buildings in Jenin that were said to be being used as terrorist infrastructure. Now, this has evoked condemnation from the Palestinian Foreign Ministry, which described it as a brutal scene. If we speak of Lebanon next, Israel has missed the 26 January deadline to complete its withdrawal from the southern part of the country and has since launched strikes there. Hezbollah leader pressed the Lebanese authorities to pressure Israel to stop ceasefire violations. Now this as he announced that the funeral of the predecessor, Hassan Nasrallah, will be held on 23rd of January. Nasrallah was killed in a huge Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs on 27th of September as Israel scaled up its campaign against a militant group following almost a year of cross-border hostilities. Naim Qassem also confirmed for the first time that Hashim Safieddin, who had been chosen to succeed Nasrallah before him, was killed in October. The group will hold his funeral on the same day as Nasrallah.
The funeral will be one, but the burial will be in 2 places. His Eminence Saeed Hassan Nasrallah will be buried in a plot of land we chose between the old and the new airport roads, while His Eminence Saeed Hashim will be buried in his hometown of Deir Qanoun.
Moving on, tens of thousands of demonstrators gathered in Berlin to protest against the German Conservative Party. Now, the norm-busting overtures during the far-right AfD party as the country heads for elections this month. Now, the crowds marched on the headquarters of the Christian Democratic Union Party, which last week sought the AfD's support for an anti-immigration bill, breaking a post-World War II taboo against cooperating with the far right at the national level. Now, as per the estimates by police, at least 160,000 people attended the rally, while the organizers put the figure at 250,000. Now, after the rally kicked off just outside the Bundestag, Germany's parliament building, some protesters chanted slogans including "Shame on you, CDU," before moving on towards the party's headquarters. Now, the protesters also accused the CDU, currently the main opposition party, and its leader, Friedrich Merz, of having made a pact with the devil by seeking the backing of the far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, to pass an anti-immigration bill. Now, this comes as just last week, the two parties successfully passed a non-binding resolution in an attempt to block undocumented foreigners at the border, including asylum seekers. However, they failed to pass a contentious bill to further restrict immigration. Now, less than a month before a snap federal election, the CDU's push last week to secure the far-right AfD's backing provoked intense outrage in Germany. Now, by doing this, Merz, the leading candidate before the vote on February 23rd, breached the distance that had been in place for decades following the atrocities committed by Nazi Germany. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has warned that the conservatives and the far right could soon join forces to govern the country, as has been the case elsewhere, including neighboring Austria. Merz, on the other hand, has defended himself as he assured that he will never govern with AfD, while arguing that the immigration debate should not be dominated by an extremist party.
Now, Friedrich Merz has promised a reversal on immigration from the open door policy of his more centrist predecessor and party rival Angela Merkel. Now, his move comes after a series of deadly attacks altered the mood in Germany over the arrival of millions of war refugees and other asylum seekers in recent years.
All right, we'll be going for a short break now. World DNA will continue on the other side. But before we go, here are the top climate stories making headlines across the world. Take a look.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching World DNA. And before we unpack the biggest stories of this hour, let's take a quick check on the headlines.
President Donald Trump acknowledges potential economic pain from imposed tariffs. However, he defended his decision, arguing that the tariffs would be worth the price to secure U.S. interests.
US President Donald Trump says he will hold talks with the leaders of Canada and Mexico soon, after signing off on 25% tariffs on both countries. Now, Trump also says he will put tariffs on goods from the European Union soon.
President Donald Trump says he is considering the future of U.S. aid, claims the Overseas Aid and Development Agency is run by radical left lunatics. This comes after Elon Musk attacked the agency as a criminal organization.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets President Jose Raul Mulino in Panama, tells Panama to reduce Chinese influence in Canal area or face U.S. action.
Third Amrit Snan underway at Maha Kumbh Mela in India's Prayagraj. Millions of devotees take a dip in holy Sangam waters on Basant Panchami at world's largest religious gathering.
India is reportedly re-evaluating its cryptocurrency policy following global shifts, particularly the pro-crypto stance of US President Donald Trump. Now, this is based on an exclusive Reuters report citing Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Seth.
Marcus Rashford joins Aston Villa from Manchester United on loan for the rest of the season. The move ends a long saga following a fallout between the forward and manager Ruben Amorim.
Our top story is coming in from India, where today is the third day of the Amrit Snan of Maha Kumbh Mela in India's Prayagraj. Hundreds and thousands of devotees and saints are taking a dip at the holy Sangam. And on the occasion of Basant Panchami marks the birth of Goddess Saraswati.
Now, so far, over 330 million devotees have taken a dip at the Maha Kumbh. The Uttar Pradesh state government expects a footfall for around 50 million pilgrims on Monday alone.
Now, at the break of dawn, seers from different akhadas held their ceremony journey towards the Triveni Sangam and performed the Amrit Snan. Now, the Amrit Snan is the grandest and most sacred ritual of the Mela Maha Kumbh, attracting millions of pilgrims from around the world.
It is my second Snan after marriage, and as I said, everything is new. So I try to keep my expectations low. So I want to enjoy the whole procedure, enjoy the bath, enjoy the moment. I'm very grateful that I'm here today because you never know. You go to bed and you never know if you're going to wake up. So I'm super grateful that I'm here today again.
The ongoing Maha Kumbh Mela will witness several sacred snans or bathing rituals, of which 3 are Amrit Snans. Basant Panchami is the third and final Amrit Snan. Now, according to Hindu beliefs, taking an Amrit Snan during the Maha Kumbh washes away all sins and brings immense spiritual blessings.
During the second Amrit Snan on January 29th, a stampede broke out as millions of devotees flocked to the Kumbh Mela for a holy dip on Mauni Amavasya. Now, that's one of the most auspicious days of the event. Authorities reported that the incident was triggered by a surge of devotees pushing against barricades as they attempted to reach the Sangam. The confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna and the mythical Saraswati river is called the Sangam.
In the wake of the stampede, which resulted in at least 30 deaths, the Uttar Pradesh government has introduced a series of stringent measures to enhance safety and order in the area. These include strictly prohibiting all types of vehicles from entering the Maha Kumbh fairgrounds. No special passes will be allowed for vehicle entry without exceptions. One-way traffic system implemented to help manage the movement of devotees more efficiently. Vehicles from neighboring districts of Prayagraj are being stopped at district borders to alleviate congestion. The entry of four-wheelers into Prayagraj will remain completely banned until 4th of February to maintain order.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has taken immediate steps to address the situation. He has issued a series of guidelines focused on enhancing crowd control, improving traffic management and strengthening interdepartmental coordination.
Now, review of the current Maha Kumbh arrangements will be conducted by the Chief Secretary and the Director General of Police. Also, the Additional Director General and District Magistrate of Prayagraj have been instructed to ensure the safe departure of devotees from the city.
The Indian state of Telangana has said in a report that more than half of its population belongs to backward classes.
Now, this comes after a caste-based survey was conducted by the ruling Congress government across various districts.
Now, the caste survey conducted across 3.5 million households by the state's planning department revealed that 56.3% of the population belongs to backward classes. Further, around 17.4% population accounted for the scheduled castes, while the scheduled tribes made 10.4% of the state's population. The remaining 15.7% of the population, on the other hand, come from other castes.
Now, according to the Telangana government, the findings will help them to refurbish welfare schemes, improve job opportunities and uplift weaker sections. Telangana's Socio-Economic, Educational, Employment, Political and Caste Survey report will be presented before the cabinet and will be up for discussions in the assembly on Tuesday.
Back in 2023, the caste survey was one of the promises made by the Congress in its election manifesto. Now, following which the party came to power by defeating the Bharat Rashtra Samiti. BRS Telangana's caste survey reports comes after Bihar conducted a similar survey 2 years ago. Mohammad Nabi Omari, Taliban's Deputy Minister of Interior, was seen moving to tears.
And this while addressing the group's strict restrictions on girls' education imposed by Taliban leader Hibatullah Akhundzada. Take a look.
In a video accessed by WION, Omari urged the reopening of girls' school, saying even if it's not a religious obligation, it is at least permissible. He further pleaded for modern sciences to be allowed alongside religious studies, expressing concern that extreme policies could lead to future generations being Muslim in name only.
Now, according to sources, he delivered the speech on 27th of January in Afghanistan's Khost province at a girls' school.
Maulavi Muhammad Nabi Omari currently serves as the first Deputy Minister for Security Affairs in the Taliban government and served as a member of the Taliban's political office in Doha until August 2021. Now, he's a key member of the Haqqani network. He previously served as the governor of Khost province and has been with the Taliban since 1996. After the Taliban's fall in 2001, Omari was captured by US forces in 2002 and was transferred to it in Guantanamo detention facility. In 2014, he was released in a prisoner exchange Prisoner exchange in Guatemala files state that he has strong operational ties to Al-Qaeda.
All right, moving on. Iran has unveiled its third missile city, sending chilling warnings to U.S. and Israel.
Now, is Iran's empire growing, and what impact could that have on the region? Here's a report.
Iran's missile empire is growing. Tehran reveals its new missile base. The third underground missile base to be unveiled in a month. The new underground base in southern Iran houses dozens of missile launchers mounted on mobile trucks for rapid deployment. These include cruise missiles with ranges from 100 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers.
Ghada 380 cruise missile has a range of more than 1,000 kilometers and has anti-jamming capabilities.
The missile city features anti-jamming systems to counter electronic warfare from hostile forces. The facility is reportedly designed to target destroyers in strategic southern waters. In a rare visit, IRGC Chief Major General Hossein Salami took stock of the missile city on Iran's southern shores. He inspected the combat readiness of the IRGC Navy's missile units. On the 18th of January, the IRGC Navy unveiled an underground naval missile base in the Persian Gulf. IRGC's Aerospace Force made a separate underground missile city public on the 10th of January. Iran insists its ballistic missiles serve as a crucial deterrent against the US and Israel. This comes even as Iran's nuclear ambitions are under scrutiny. Reports suggest Iran is allegedly hiding nuclear missile development under its space program. Tehran has tested the GOEM-100 rocket 3 times, which can carry nuclear warhead. Iran is planning to develop a more advanced GOEM-105 missile in the coming months. And reports indicate the advanced GOEM-105 to be based on designs handed over by North Korea. Concerns about Iran's military advancements continue to grow amid rising tensions in the region. Iran is boosting its arsenal as the threat to its nuclear sites looms large. Iran is flexing its military muscle even as it shows willingness to reach an agreement over its nuclear program with the West. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, President Donald Trump has announced sweeping new tariffs imposing a 25% duty on imports from Canada and Mexico and an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods.
Now, the justification? Well, an emergency declaration under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, citing the threats of fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration.
Now, this marks the first time IEEPA has been used to impose import tariffs, a legal stretch that trade experts say will face swift court challenges. Historically, IEEPA has been reserved for economic sanctions, not trade penalties, raising serious questions about the scope of presidential powers.
Now, legal experts argue that Trump's move pushes the boundaries of executive authority. Courts have upheld emergency powers in the past, like Nixon's 10% tariff in 1971, under a different law to address a balance of payments crisis. But Nixon's case had a clear economic link, unlike Trump's tariffs, which targets all goods from key trade partners, regardless of any direct connection to fentanyl or border issues. Now, Jennifer Hillman, a former WTO judge, questions the casual link, noting tariffs aren't specific to the crisis cited. Companies are expected to seek legal injunctions, but courts may defer to the president's broad discretion on national emergencies.
Now, economically, the tariffs affect over $300 billion in annual trade with America's top partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, potentially driving up costs for U.S. consumers and businesses. Now, the political fallout is already unfolding. Senator Tim Kaine has introduced legislation to restrict IEEPA's use for tariffs, arguing it was never intended for this purpose.
The broader concern, well, if courts uphold Trump's move, it could set a precedent, allowing future presidents to impose tariffs without congregational oversight. As legal battles loom, the stakes extend beyond trade policy, challenging the balance of power between executive branch and Congress. Now, in other news, Afghanistan is sitting on an estimated $1 trillion worth of untapped mineral resources.
And well, this is according to US and UN assessments. Since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, around 200 mining contracts worth billions of dollars have been signed, mostly with local companies. Now, this push is part of the Taliban's strategy to secure a crucial revenue stream and drive economic self-sufficiency. The World Bank reports a 6.9% growth in mining and quarrying, contributing to a 2.6% rise in the industrial sector during 2023-2024.
The relative stability since the Taliban takeover has attracted foreign investors, with China emerging as the dominant player. Chinese state-owned MCC operates the MES Enak copper deposit, which is the world's largest and has secured additional projects in gold and copper. Now, countries like Iran, Turkey, Uzbekistan and Qatar are also exploring opportunities in the mining boom and has created an estimated 150,000 jobs since 2021. However, despite the growth, many contracts remain inactive and international sanctions continue to limit border foreign participation.
The extraction, exploration and processing of mines requires a great deal of financial and technical capacity, and unfortunately, because Afghanistan has spent many years at war and the war has just ended, Afghans do not have such skills, which is why we want to attract foreign investors because they have the technical experience and the financial capacity. So both Afghans and foreign companies will benefit.
While Afghanistan's mining sector is expanding rapidly, experts warn of environmental and regulatory risks. The lack of infrastructure, expertise, and strict regulations raises concerns about unsustainable practices. Issues like improper waste management and water contamination from mining byproducts pose long-term threats.
In nephrite is a consistent mine. There are veins. The waste is extracted. The nephrite is clearly exposed. Then it is established where the vein leads. Then we start digging with an excavator. There's a lot of machinery to use, but here in Afghanistan, there hasn't been any modern machinery until now. So here, we use excavators, dumpers, diggers and other machines like that.
Authorities claim adherence to environmental laws, but with minimal oversight. The focus remains on short-term gains. As mining contracts surge, balancing economic growth with environmental protection remains a significant challenge. Now moving on to the world of sports, where Luka Doncic has joined LeBron James at the Lakers after the Dallas Mavericks agreed to trade their star guard for Anthony Davis.
The trade is part of a mega three-team deal also involving the Utah Jazz. In this stunning three-team NBA trade, the Lakers received five-time All-Star Doncic and along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris from the Mavericks. Dallas will get Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and Lakers 2029 first-round pick. Meanwhile, the Jazz will receive Lakers guard Jalen Hood, Schifino, and 2 second-round picks in this year's draft.
Now, the trade has sent shockwaves across the league. From former NBA greats to current stars, even Kansas City Chief quarterback Patrick Mahomes expressed his shock at the move.
Doncic, who is currently sidelined with a calf injury, has been a force in the league. He has been an NBA All-Star for 5 consecutive seasons. He won the 2024 scoring title, helping Dallas reach the NBA Finals. Doncic is averaging 28.1 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 7.8 assists this season.
31-year-old Anthony Davis leaves the Lakers after 6 seasons. The 9-time All-Star was a key figure in their 2020 championship win. Now this season, Davis is averaging 25.7 points, 11.9 rebounds and 3.4 assists per game.
And well, the Grammy Awards have taken center stage in Los Angeles today. Now, the award event, which honors the best of music this year, acknowledged the deadly wildfires that has scarred a hub of the industry.
A group of firefighters and first responders arrived at the Grammy Awards ahead of the event. Organizers said that they would be part of the awards show. Now, the awards event also contributed as a fundraiser for people affected by the wildfires, which were finally contained on Friday.
The platform also witnessed the arrival of controversial rapper Kanye West as the couple arrived on the red carpet. Sensory stopped for photographers before removing her coat to reveal her look in a transparent dress. Following the red carpet appearance, West and Sensory were nowhere to be seen inside the venue. A viral report has claimed that the pair had been kicked out of the event and were not officially invited to attend.
Music superstar Taylor Swift was welcomed at the Grammys with a lot of cheers. This year, Swift has been roped in to be one of the presenters of the award event.
Now, inside the award event, host Trevor Noah delivered a monologue where he introduced the top nominees. He also took jibes at President Donald Trump's policies on immigration.
Beyoncé scooped her first ever Grammy in the country category for her collaboration with Miley Cyrus. Of her 11 chances to win, Beyoncé's victory was coupled with a few losses in genre categories. Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter was a critically praised song as the genre-spanning record that elevated the work of black artists and celebrated the rich history of their work on Grammys Eve. She also made headlines by announcing an upcoming tour in support of Cowboy Carter.
The late U.S. President Jimmy Carter won a posthumous Grammy Award for Best Audiobook, Narration and Storytelling Recording.
In other news, the largest Hindu temple and cultural complex in the southern hemisphere has been unveiled in Johannesburg, South Africa, with scores of worshippers participating in a ceremony to mark the occasion. Take a look
at this report.
And with this report,
with that report, we call a wrap to this bulletin. Don't go anywhere. News and updates to follow on the other side. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.